Egypt, the world's first great superpower, the land of the pharaohs. Regarding Egypt, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had clearly foretold before his passing that Muslims will certainly conquer Egypt one day, and when you do, treat its common people with kindness, for they are your relatives. Shortly after Prophet Muhammad's death, Muslims under Umar bin Khattab's leadership defeated both the Roman and Persian empires, conquering their territories. However, immediately following these conquests, a serious challenge emerged. A devastating plague spread throughout these newly acquired regions, not only halting Muslim advancement, but also claiming the lives of many senior Muslim generals. This created an opportunity for new military leaders to emerge. Due to these losses, Hazrat Umar appointed fresh commanders to these territories and designated Amr bin Al as, may Allah be pleased with him, as the Muslim army chief in these regions. Strategic leadership after Amr, the plague gradually subsided. Grace. When Hazrat Umar received this news in Medina, he personally traveled to assess the situation. Before departing, he entrusted Medina and the entire Arabian territory to Hazrat Ali, may Allah be pleased with him, effectively making him the successor should anything happen to Umar during his journey. Upon reaching Syria, Hazrat Umar met with Amr bin Al, who proposed an ambitious new strategy. Rather than consolidating their current positions, they should advance toward Egypt. Why Egypt specifically? The Muslims could have targeted the Roman Empire's capital, but Egypt was no ordinary territory. For millennia, Egypt had ranked among the world's wealthiest regions, with its significance repeatedly emphasized in the Quran. But what made Egypt so powerful? The rise of Egyptian power 5,000 years ago. The world's most precious resource was simple: water. Whoever controlled the most water dominated the world. Egypt possessed the world's mightiest river, the Nile. Because of this life-giving waterway, people from across the world gradually settled in Egypt, transforming it into the world's most influential region. Its inhabitants became the world's wealthiest people. From among them rose King Narmer, who united all of Egypt and established what became the world's first kingdom. King Narmer's legacy. These events occurred 5,000 years ago. So how do we know about them today? These two tablets are crucial evidence. Among all Egyptian writings discovered, these two tablets represent the oldest Egyptian inscriptions, clearly depicting King Narmer. The Egyptian empire steadily grew more powerful, ruling the known world for the next millennia. After 1,000 years as the world's undisputed superpower, Egyptian pharaohs became convinced of their supreme position in the universe. They then made an unprecedented claim. The Pharaoh of Egypt declared himself not merely a king, but a god. These pharaohs instituted a religion in Egypt, proclaiming that the pharaoh was divine and that ordinary people could only achieve paradise by remaining loyal subjects to their god pharaoh. This ensured Egypt's population would never revolt. Consequently, all of Egypt began worshiping the pharaoh. Over time, this religious concept evolved, culminating in a remarkable belief. Not every pharaoh was a god, only those whose physical bodies remained perfectly preserved until the end of time after death. This sparked a competition among pharaohs to preserve their bodies eternally, leading to experimentation that introduced the world to mummification. The art of mummification. When a pharaoh died, the era's specialized embalmers would first drain all blood from the body. They would then insert a curved hook through the pharaoh's nose to extract the brain. Afterward, they removed all internal organs, lungs, liver, kidneys, everything except the heart, which was carefully preserved in a special jar. The pharaoh's empty body would then be immersed in water mixed with specialized salts for 40 days. After this period, the body was removed and filled with sand to maintain its shape permanently. Oil and honey were applied to the skin before it was wrapped in white linen bandages. Finally, the body was sealed in an elaborate sarcophagus along with food, drink, considerable gold, and most importantly, the preserved heart. Eventually, every pharaoh underwent mummification after death, making this practice commonplace. The ambition to achieve godhood after death soon expanded beyond mummification. Upcoming pharaohs began constructing massive structures over their mummies. What began as simple buildings and temples gradually evolved into increasingly larger monuments, introducing the world to the first pyramids. As the age of pyramids, each deceased pharaoh commissioned ever larger pyramids over their mummies, each ruler striving to outdo his predecessor's monument. These pyramids grew so massive that eventually Pharaoh Khufu's musical interlude Khufu's Pyramid held the title of world's largest building. After 3,500 years, this record was broken by a London church. However, when that church collapsed, the pyramid reclaimed its status as the world's largest structure. Later, the Eiffel Tower and other modern buildings surpassed the pyramids in height. Today, while Burj Khalifa stands as the world's tallest building, the Great Pyramid remains so massive that by weight, it would take 12 Burj Khalifas to equal one pyramid. The pyramid is so enormous that 2,000 large trucks could be parked inside it. While the pharaohs continued building these pyramids, they failed to recognize their tremendous economic cost. This explains why Khufu's pyramid remains the largest. The subsequent pyramids gradually decreased in size. The pyramid building tradition not only impacted the monuments themselves, but began weakening Egypt's entire economy. For the first time in thousands of years, Egypt appeared poised to lose its superpower status. During this economic decline, a remarkably beautiful child was being sold as a slave in Egypt's marketplace. This child, different from all others in his appearance, was adopted by a powerful Egyptian minister. This slave boy, Yusuf, peace be upon him, would eventually become Egypt's prime minister. Yusuf's wise leadership working alongside the king Yusuf, peace be upon him, stabilized Egypt's entire economy, transforming a nation on the brink of collapse back into a superpower. Following his death, Yusuf's descendants and his brothers' families, the Bani Israel, remained in Egypt and quickly rose to become Egypt's most influential people. Just as the Bani Israel reached the pinnacle of their influence, a major power struggle erupted in Egypt. A new pharaoh overthrew the previous dynasty and established a new regime. This pharaoh dismantled Egypt's traditional governance and implemented a new system with one paramount rule: foreigners would no longer be tolerated in Egypt. This led to severe oppression of the Bani Israel. Similar to how America's President Donald Trump immediately planned to expel immigrants upon taking office, this new pharaoh shut down all Bani Israel businesses and enslaved them. For the next 400 years, the Bani Israel remained enslaved to the Egyptians. Throughout this period, the Bani Israel maintained one hope: someday a prophet would arise to liberate them from their bondage, and precisely this occurred. After 4 centuries, an astrologer approached the pharaoh with a prophecy. Soon, a child would be born in Egypt from the Bani Israel who would destroy the pharaoh's 3,000-year empire. Alarmed, the pharaoh immediately ordered all newborn Bani Israel males to be killed at birth. His soldiers went house to house, tearing infants from their mothers and executing them. Yet the child they truly sought, Musa, peace be upon him, eluded capture. Musa's divine mission rather than being killed. This child was ironically raised in Pharaoh's own household. What followed is widely known. After receiving prophethood, Musa, peace be upon him, confronted Pharaoh with a single demand: free the Bani Israel from slavery. Following numerous miraculous signs, Pharaoh finally relented, permitting the Bani Israel to leave Egypt. 600,000 Bani Israel departed Egypt in a single night after 400 years of bondage, heading toward Palestine. Inexplicably, Pharaoh Ramses rescinded his permission, breaking his promise. He mobilized his entire army in pursuit of Musa. Peace be upon him. Just as Ramses closed in on the Bani Israel, ready to annihilate them, Allah intervened, saving Musa and his people while drowning Ramses and his entire army. A historical discrepancy exists. Musa, peace be upon him, appears nowhere in Egyptian historical records, tablets, or inscriptions. His story comes exclusively from the Bible and Quran, yet one fact aligns between historical and religious accounts. Historians universally acknowledge that following Pharaoh Ramses' death, Egypt never regained its former glory. This suggests Musa, peace be upon him, not only ended one pharaoh's rule, but initiated the permanent downfall of Egypt's 3,000-year dominion. Ramses, Egypt's final great pharaoh, destroyed himself and his army through pride. Subsequently, the world recognized that pharaohs were not gods but merely humans. From this point forward, Egypt steadily lost its superpower status, entering conditions so dire that historians refer to this period as the Dark Ages. Shortly thereafter, a new regional power emerged in Palestine under King Solomon. Peace be upon him. Egypt continued weakening, eventually becoming so vulnerable that numerous empires invaded and conquered it, including Alexander the Great. Following Alexander's empire, the Roman Empire ultimately conquered Egypt with overwhelming force, ruling it for 600 years unchallenged. Finally, after 6 centuries, the time arrived for Prophet Muhammad's prophecy to be fulfilled. Muslims under Umar bin Khattab's caliphate stood at Egypt's doorstep, poised to wrest control from the Roman Empire. Follow for more